Hello, and welcome to this video on security within the eFileMagic system. If you'd like to get a general overview of the security features that we employ in order to help safeguard your information, visit www.efilemagic.com, select Features, and then click on Security. We're going to give you a brief overview in written terms of some of the security features that we employ to help keep your information safe. But I'd like to take you through that, because many of our competitors will indicate to you that they are employing security features, but perhaps they don't go as far as us in ensuring that that information is actually protected in the ways that we believe it should be. So first, we use what's called transport encryption. That means that when you view our website or you access our application, the connection between your computer and our computer is encrypted. That's a common thing that you'll receive from any website. Your bank website, even Google.com operates over HTTPS, which means a secure socket layer, and so on and so forth. That's very common, and in our opinion is just an important baseline step that everybody should be taking, and isn't really what we would consider to be a security feature as much as something that we would consider to be a must-have for all websites. The second piece is that we take great care in sanitizing and validating the data that hits our back-end system. What does that mean? That means that if certain malicious characters are entered by hackers that might cause what's called a SQL injection or exposure of information, we're doing a lot of work to make sure that the information that we're storing into our database is safe, both in the way that it's inserted and the way that we pull it out and read the information. One of the cornerstones and hallmarks of ensuring that information is properly sanitized above and beyond internal programmatic validation rules is something that's called parameterized SQL statements. That means essentially that the information that we are executing against the database isn't passed verbatim. The data elements and the value elements themselves are passed separately so that the SQL statement itself doesn't contain the actual variables. The database is being passed a list of parameters that get mapped against the variables. That's a very technical process and term, and you can certainly read up more on parameterized SQL statements on the web. But for those that are interested, we use that exclusively within our application. Lastly, and probably most importantly, we take the perspective of we really need to look at this from what would happen if information was disclosed, and what's the best thing that we can do under those circumstances to protect the information. So one of the most important things that we do is what's called encryption at rest. That means that data that we pull in and out of the database is automatically encrypted and decrypted using unique cryptographic keys that are specific to each customer's account. So that means that when you register with eFileMagic, we automatically in the background create unique cryptographic keys that are assigned to your account. Those keys are then used to encrypt the data specifically to your account. That means that every single customer that we have working with eFileMagic gets a different set of keys, and so even if one key was compromised, it would only impact that particular customer. And above and beyond that, those keys are not stored anywhere on our servers. So the information would be, for the most part, useless in the event that the information was disclosed unless somebody had access to those encrypted encryption keys. So let's give you some examples of where we're doing transparent encryption and decryption without you actually knowing. So as an example, if we navigate to the filer screen, we can see that there are some sensitive pieces of information, such as the tax ID and the name and the address of this filer. All of that information is encrypted in the database. When it's being pulled in and out of the database and displayed on your screen, you're seeing it in its unencrypted form. But if you were to view it in its raw form, i.e. what's actually stored in the database, all it would be is encrypted binary information. The same is true for the recipients. So every recipient that we have in the system, the tax ID, name, address, so on and so forth, is also encrypted using the same mechanisms. That means that we have to be very judicious in how we work with the information within our applications. As an example, when we generate a PDF, which is managed by another process within our back-end infrastructure, we have to also decrypt the information there. When we generate the files that are going to be issued to the IRS, we have to decrypt the information and submit it to the IRS, and so on and so forth. So it means that there's a lot of extra software steps that we're taking and being very cautious of in order to help ensure the information is stored in a secure possible way to help mitigate any potential loss of sensitive information. So although this video isn't particularly visual, we did want to take a moment to describe some of the steps that we're taking in order to ensure that your information is kept confidential. Above and beyond that, the hosting environment that we work in, which is Amazon Web Services, is HIPAA compliant, it's SOC 1 compliant, it's SSA 16 compliant. We use what's called SE Linux on our servers in enforcing mode to help mitigate any potential attacks against our servers. The information is protected with firewalls, but these are all also things that are very baseline that we think most organizations that should be sensitive and aware of how to handle customer information should be taking these steps. And we would encourage you, as you look to compare us to competitors, to ask these questions. In fact, you can refer to this security page on our website and ask these questions of our competitors and say, do you encrypt data at rest? Do you use parameterized statements? And if they're not equipped to answer those questions, chances are that they're not doing that. The final thing we'd like to make note of is what's called multi-factor authentication. We have another video that's published specifically on multi-factor authentication, which will give you more information. But multi-factor authentication is essentially an extra layer of security that can be added to your account, whereby a code is generated that you scan with your cell phone, either an Android or IRS compliant phone using Google Authenticator, and then that code rotates every 30 seconds. You're then required to enter your email address, your password, in addition to this rotating code that changes every 30 seconds, which adds an additional layer of security to your account in the event that you lost your email address and password, or it was disclosed to somebody that should not have access to your account. They would still require your cell phone and access to Google Authenticator in order to access your account online. So these are just some of the basic and fundamental steps that we take in ensuring the security of your information, and we are happy to answer any questions if you are interested in asking those questions by emailing support@efilemagic.com. This concludes the video on some of the additional security features that eFileMagic offers